Hello and welcome to another ship review for the yearbook. Today we will talk about Navy Catalyst, which is the most popular ship in faction warfare in 2025 and I think in 2024 as well. As you can see, the difference between Navy Catalyst and the second Navy Thrasher is almost 15,000 engagements in 1.5 years. So you will see Navy Catalysts all the time, both in insurgencies and in normal Empire faction warfare. There are several reasons why this ship is so popular. It has essentially no big weaknesses, and it is fairly accessible in terms of skill training and in terms of ease cost, and it can enter small navy complexes, and it can clear faction warfare rats in any complex if you feed blasters. So it's a very universal, accessible and very strong ship, and it's no surprise that many people use it. And in terms of win rates, it is the best Navy destroyer in the game as of now, 77% win rate. Course, Navy and Thrasher fleet are not that far behind, but it's generally considered that the Navy Catalyst is the most flexible and probably overall the best Navy frigate and Navy destroyer as of now. So what you have is 733 slot layout with one utility high. So you can fit all the basic requirements for the destroyer. You have micro warp drive, tackle and web in medium slots, and you can fit Nosferatu in high slots if you need, and you have a very balanced set of bonuses. So you get damage, optimal range plus fall off, and 2 bonuses for tanking. It means that you get very high damage output, very good projection, pretty decent application, because if you use blasters just naturally have a very good tracking, and very good tank. So in terms of overall frigate and destroyer PvP, Navy Catalyst has one of the best tanks and one of the best DPS outputs, probably even the best DPS output in a normal feed. The only weakness is control, which is the weakness for any destroyer, but it's still quite manageable because you still get 3 medium slots, so all the essentials will be there. There are 2 main archetypes. If you use blasters, it will be a brawling archetype, and if you use railguns, it will be webcutting archetype. We will look at the feats a bit later in this video. And as you can see, in terms of popularity, blasters take approximately 80% of all catalysts, and rails take about 20%. It doesn't really mean that blasters are better than railguns. The reason why is mostly because if you use blasters, you can do all the faction warfare farming, because you get enough DPS output to clear any rat. And if you go with railguns, I think it will only clear rats in small complexes, at least fast enough. Maybe you can get mediums as well, but it will not be quite efficient. Okay, in terms of performance, you have amazing engagement profile. So of course you can fight any Tech 1 frigate and Tech 1 destroyer. You can fight any Navy destroyer. Most matchups will be pretty balanced, but the main takeaway is that you can fight in any matchup. And against Navy frigate, it's mostly most matchups are quite favorable for Navy Catalyst, simply because you have so much tank and so much damage that even if you are controlled pretty hard, it's still difficult to win DPS race against Navy Catalyst. For example, you can think of Hookbill against Navy Catalyst matchup. Hookbill with Tracking Disruptor will control you very hard, and it will mitigate a lot of damage with range and with Tracking Disruptor. But if you load Null, it's still quite close in terms of tank to DPS in this matchup. And against assault frigates, it's quite simple. You should avoid assault frigates with kinetic and thermal Tech 2 resists, and you can fight against everything else. So that means you should avoid Harpies, Hawks, Enios, and Ishkurs. And for our assault frigates are fine for Navy Catalyst. Okay, now let's look at the feats. There is not much to cover because feats in destroyers are quite straightforward. So as I mentioned, you have two archetypes, Brawler or Webkiter, and only 3 feats. The most popular one is the Brawling Navy Catalyst with Blasters, and the most common and optimized feat is the one that you see on the screen. You will have enough space for Nosferatu to defend against Newton pressure. You have good mobility with Micro-Warp Drive, Scram and Web, good control for a destroyer, and your tank is very high, so 13,000 effective hit points before ancillary rep charges. There is one alternative to this feat, so if you drop ancillary rep and Nosferatu, you can fit 400mm plate in low slot. In my experience, it's just a little bit weaker because you will miss Nosferatu against Newton pressure. Your effective hit points will be a little bit lower after ancillary rep charges, and your speed will be a little bit lower. So even after September 2025 patch that made Armor X better, it's still not worth it, I think, because with Tech 1 Armor X, what I said before will still work, so your effective hit points will be lower in this 400mm plate fit, and Tech 2 Armor X are just too expensive. So it's simply not worth it for a Navy Destroyer. The second archetype is Webkiting, Navy Catalyst, and again, fit is quite straightforward. You fit 125mm railguns and overprop. Usually, when we are talking about Webkiting in destroyers, in destroyer PvP, it's always with an overprop. So the fit is typical. You use Tenement Afterburner, Web, and then Long Point, and low slots are the same and rigs are the same. In this fit, you generally try to stay at 10 to 13 kilometers and use antimatter to maximize your DPS. If you fight against a kiter, when you switch into uranium, usually, and usually your tank and applied DPS is sufficient to chase most of the kiters away, unless they have a Tracking Disruptor, in which case you are hard countered and you are dead. The alternative is to use 150mm railguns. Note that these are Meta 4 and not Tech 2. You don't have enough fitting space for Tech 2, but you can use Meta 4 in this specific case because you never need Tech 2 armor in these matchups. And Tech 2 armor for railguns are Spike, not necessary at all, and Javelins, again, not necessary because you will always use antimatter at close range anyway. So you can get away with Meta 4, save fitting, and it kind of works. The rest is essentially the same. The trade-offs are you get better range, but you get worse tracking and worse DPS. Currently 125 millimeter feet is more popular, but I would say they are about the same strength. You just trade off different stats, but both work fine. And that's really it. Only 3 feats for the catalyst, for the Navy catalyst, that are pretty good and quite popular. So I hope you found it useful, and I will see you in the next trip review.